podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Each week, Joe and I bring you our unfiltered takes on the highs, the lows, and everything in between, following the Blues from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes.
Full-time whistle has just gone. Fulham 2, Chelsea 1, and I am pissed off. A horrendous performance yet again from Chelsea. That is now 8 points from a possible 27 since we last beat Barcelona in the Champions League. Starting with that draw against Arsenal when we thought we were playing quite well. And the wheels have well and truly fallen off this team. There'll be people that say we had moments in the second half. We had a 5-minute spell where we scored the goal. Other than that, we were fucking atrocious. Now, of course, it all stems from Cucurella getting himself needlessly sent off. I mean, it is pub football at the very best. And people think, well, am I being a bit harsh? No, I'm not. It's a goal kick and Leno punts it 95 yards, plumb down the middle. Trev is nowhere to be seen. Tosin, to be fair, is up for the corner, so he's not going to get back. And Cucurella's job is to mark goal side of that player. He gets himself in a complete mess and then wants to fight with him all the way to the box when you know you're the last man, so you just start there grabbing him around the throat and then just throw him to the floor. He's fucking brain dead. Absolutely brain dead. I mean, this is the level of Cucurella that we had under Potter. And I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. And he's been fantastic this season, Cucurella. We know, sing his praises every single week, but that tonight is diabolical. It's embarrassing. And then to top it all off, Palmer, Tosin, and Enzo all get themselves booked at that free kick. So we had a red card and 3 yellow cards for 1 tackle. This football club is pissing me off to levels I didn't know it could, quite frankly. And I'm just so unhappy with the way it is going at the moment. I can't keep coming on here and saying it's going to be all right, it's going to be all right. We hope it's going to be all right. And I'm not in the mood to even talk about the new manager at the moment. I'm just not in the mood for it. Chelsea tonight was disgraceful. I thought Enzo, again, was horrific. I thought he was horrific. I thought Caicedo was poor. I mean, the amount of times he goes down looking for free kicks to cheat, he's just cheating all the time. And that is driving me mad. I know that's a foreign influence thing that happens all the time, but I'm sorry. It looks terrible. They're never free kicks. The cameras pick up everything. It's just embarrassing. I could go through the side. I'm not going to go through every single player because there's no point tonight because it just wasn't worth it. What I will say is none of this is on Callum McFarlane. He set a team up. We didn't know what was going to happen. And obviously the red card makes it really awkward for him. And one of your most experienced players, if not the most experienced player you've got in that team, goes and does that in the first half inside 28 minutes, 30 minutes, something along those lines. It's just unacceptable. And, you know, the start of the game wasn't terrible. Nothing really happened too much. We had a couple of corners, but which we looked quite dangerous from. And it was nice to see us actually sling it in the box for once and actually try something different. And we hit the bar, I think it was through Andre Santos, who was then hooked clearly when Cucurella gets sent off. And we brought on Jiro Hato, who had not a bad game. Actually, I thought Hato was pretty decent at left back. I don't know what anyone else thought, but I thought he was pretty good. There were 1 or 2 not bad performances. I didn't think Delac was bad tonight. He got his first goal for the club, so congratulations to him. But it was all in vain. I didn't think Delac was wonderful. I just thought he was a bit better than he has been. And obviously, when you score a goal, it always makes a big difference to your performance. Palmer was miserable when he came off. Clearly didn't want to come off. He was gesturing, and McFarlane, you could lip read him. He was just saying, "Come on, just come off." But he didn't want to, and I get it because he's a match winner. Again, but we didn't see Esteval again. I've no idea why. I think he had the hump at the weekend when he got brought off. Maybe that was a sign from McFarlane for him to say, "You're not in charge here, I am." But it would have been nice to have seen him because I think he would have offered us something that we just didn't have tonight. And just excitement, basically. Palmer just looked miserable on their right-hand side. barely touched the ball, really. It was always too deep. There was moments in the first half where he got it a little bit higher up, but yeah, he came inside again in the second half across field when he looked like he was going to play to Gusto, and he came inside a couple of times and played some lovely sort of disguised passes, but again, it was all a bit far out. Nothing was close enough to goal for him to get a shot away. I think he had one shot in the first half on his left foot, which was easily saved by Leno. But other than that, again, he didn't do a lot. And there'll be those fans tonight will be almost don't care, like in the sense that, we've got a new manager coming in. I'll be all right next week. I'm sorry, 8 points from 27 is, oh God, it's a real struggle for me. I'm really, really struggling with this at the moment. 1 win in 9 Premier League matches, and that's 2 wins in 11, I think, in all competitions since Barcelona. Man, oh man. When are we going to stand up and be counted for? When are these players going to learn that discipline is everything in football? And with the amount of cameras and things that are on you, you don't get away with anything these days. I mean, and there was someone on our WhatsApp group made a very good point. Why not let him, if Cucurella is struggling, if he thinks he's struggling at that point, he's got the wrong side, just let him go. He's still got to get a shot away against Sanchez. He's still got to score. Sanchez likely would save it anyway. And even if it does go in, you've still got 11 men. And this is the same thing we had against Man United. Arsenal was the same. Brighton's the same. Tonight's the same. There have been red cards in Europe, etc., etc., etc. And the list goes on and on and on. And I've got to say, Fulham didn't even have a kick tonight. Before that red card, they didn't even threaten. They had nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we just gift wrap another 3 points away. We just don't care enough. No one gives a shit. Oh, a new manager comes in. I don't care. I literally don't care. I want to win tonight. I'm so fucking rattled tonight. I'm so fucked off with all the news around Liam Rosenior. And it's not his fault, by the way. There's nothing to do with him. But, all these people coming at the woodwork telling me that Liam Rosenior is better than Mourinho and he's better than Ancelotti and all this nonsense that comes out. It's just like, yes, I'm actually quite excited to have him in the club. An Englishman. He seems to his message on Chelsea TV was very positive, and I liked what I heard from him and stuff. But yeah, this game was just flattened me again. I was really looking forward to it, like really looking forward to this all day long. I had plans, I changed plans so I could make sure I got to the game today, and this is just so typical of Chelsea. And yeah, we are just Charity FC. We've been Charity FC for so long, and it's driving me up the wall. And I just wish they knew how much these games piss us off as fans. I think Chris has got a different take on it. I think Chris is probably really looking forward to Liam Rosenior starting and, starting from afresh and a clean slate and all the rest of it. And I'm just not there yet. I just can't get my head around how poor that was. And I'm watching it going, this is Fulham. We're playing Fulham. We're not playing like one of the top teams in Europe where you've got to dig in for, an hour and hope for the best. We're playing Fulham. I mean, they are bang average. And I know they're on, and listen, I know they're level on points with us. And there'll be Fulham fans maybe listening, maybe going, well, we're better than you. Whatever. I don't care. Think what you like. I'm telling you now, you're a bang average football team, and we are not, but we are playing bang average football. We have far superior football players, but I'd say apart from Reece James, there isn't one person in that team that's got any sense of Chelsea about them. And it probably should be pointed out that when Reece come on, he changed the game for us. He was absolutely fantastic in that midfield. And even when we were at 1-1, Fulham had a spell of about 3 or 4 minutes. He must have made about 4 or 5 blocks and tackles to get back. And obviously he's a bit unfortunate. The Harry Wilson second goal blasted through, goes through Reece James's legs, catches him on the bottom of the thigh, and flew in the bottom corner. But he was fantastic when he came on, and I just feel a bit sorry for Reece actually tonight, because I thought he was brilliant in that little cameo spell that he had. But this is the Premier League at the moment. I think there's so many bang average teams in this league. I mean, Arsenal are walking away with the league now. City dropped points again tonight. I believe Man United have dropped points again tonight. I think Newcastle have dropped points. I think Spurs have dropped points. All these teams are in or around us. I think Bournemouth won. Obviously, Brighton have nicked a point. Fulham have beaten us. So there has been some movement in the league, but not from the teams you'd expect. And the bar is so low in this league, and yet we are so scraping the barrel. I mean, we are in a real dire strait. And I just hope that there is some kind of reboot. Obviously, the cup games are fine. When the league is going pretty well, I like the cup matches, but I'm going to find this really hard to get up for Charlton away at the weekend. It's just when it's going this badly in the league, it is a real struggle. And then we've got Arsenal in the League Cup in midweek. And again, I just want a league game where we look clinical and we can score some goals. We look fresh and Palmer looks good. Like it's all very well doing it against Charlton, but I want to see it against a proper team. And once again, we flattered to deceive, and we're happy to give away 3 points. There's just not enough commitment to the cause. Again, the centre half's changing once again tonight. Another centre half pairing that's different. Just beggars belief at the moment. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off. I'm really unhappy with that performance. And I don't care what the press say. I don't care what Callum McFarlane has to say. I really don't care what the players say. Just show me with your feet and your brains and your bodies what you can do in the upcoming games, because at the moment it's a really sad state of affairs, and you're really treading water, and it's just not good enough. Where's that spark that's going to push us up? Where is it? And at the moment, I just can't see it. I'm sure it's there. Probably it's just not good. It's got not a good night for me to do a voice note, really. But I just wanted to get some kind of raw emotional feeling into it, because that's how I really feel. And I don't think my position isn't going to change tomorrow. It'll probably be less annoyed, probably, if I did it tomorrow. But I wanted it done tonight and done and dusted, and people to have that real sense of how annoyed I really am. I'll let Chris come in now and jump in. I've not said a huge amount about the game. It's more emotional tonight from me, but Chris might break some stuff down a little bit more than me tonight, but I'm just not in the mood to do it. Disappointed, really unhappy with that, and quite frankly, we are going nowhere fast.
Yeah, I think the beauty of this podcast format is that you get the emotional and real reaction from a fan perspective, and I think, Joe, you've nailed it there. I think you have said what a lot of us are feeling. Oh, so disappointing, isn't it? 22 minutes into the game, and I was sat there just really enjoying it, and thought Chelsea were on the front foot. Just felt a bit quicker, a bit sharper. Players looked up for it, and we hadn't had a huge number of chances, but we were certainly like the more dominant in what is a tough away game, and it all felt good. And then just a moment of, just a moment of stupidity, really. There's not a nicer word to put on it than that. And I said on the podcast in the last couple of episodes that the number one challenge for Leon Rosinia was to get the most out of Cole Palmer. That was his number one thing to do. I'm going to change it. I'm going to make that number 2, because I think the number one thing is to fix this discipline issue at Chelsea, which is now, we've got to remember, this has gone on for a long time. This isn't just a Maresca thing. This happened in the Pochettino era as well. So this is going on for best part of 2.5 years. 2.5 years of ridiculous number of bookings, as Joe talked about after the red card, but just putting ourselves in just ridiculous situations that we don't need to be in. And that red card from, as you said, Joe, one of the most experienced guys on the pitch. You watched it happening in real time. You could see them sort of grappling. Cucurella had got wrong side. He just said, just let go of him. He's really dangerous on his left foot, but he's on his right. Let him hit it on the right foot. There's a good chance he skews it wide, he blasts it over the bar, or Sanchez saves it. Let him have the shot. And he does. It's unforgivable to do that. And the reason I'm probably a little bit lighter, actually, in my criticism on the team than probably Joe is that I really think that tonight was down to Cucurella. And I think sometimes it's easy to overanalyze these things and go into depths that to be fair, our current form is bad. Joe's right. Like the form is poor. But tonight was on Cucurella, and I think he has to hold his hand up and go, this is on him, because Chelsea were playing well, were on the front foot, and from that point forward, you've cut your chances so much, and it was just inexcusable. And I was going through them. I'm not even going to go. We've got sendings off in the Champions League and the League Cup as well this year, by the way. João Pedro got sent off in the Champions League. Liam Tapp got sent off in the League Cup. But in the league alone, that's now Man United, key sending off from Sanchez. Brighton, key sending off from Trev Chalobah. It wasn't his fault, but sending off at 1-0 up. Arsenal, Caicedo gets sent off. And now Fulham, Cucurella. All sendings off at key moments in the game. We're about halfway through the season. This is absolutely insane. If there's one thing that Liam Rosenior has to fix, it's that. And you think it isn't that hard to fix. You just got to come in and tell them to start growing up. And frankly, what's I think a bit embarrassing, I was watching it with a good friend of mine, Danny, big Chelsea fan of from the early 90s, late 80s era as well. And it's like, we're not even a nasty team. It's not like you're picking up red cards and yellow cards for like dirty tackles where it's like Dennis Wise and Vinnie Jones back in the day, and you're like, always, to be fair, we're a nasty team to play against, but bloody hell, you wouldn't want to get us in a ruck. It's like, no, we're just picking up stupid bookings. It's like they're really crappy yellow cards for arguing, like you said, Joe, Caicedo, like on the ground and stuff. Like, but out of all those red cards I listed, I don't mind in a way the Caicedo one against Arsenal, because whilst it's silly, he shouldn't really do it. It's kind of his game that he's playing on the edge, and sometimes you're going to get it wrong and you might get a red card. But most of them are just stupid decisions, just bang average. Like Nicholas Jackson last year did it twice, didn't he? Where you're like, you're just stupid, and you've cost us in 2 games. And that's what we're still seeing. And I think that is the number one thing that, I mean, he was there in the stands, we saw him, the cameras went to him so many times. It's the number one thing he has to fix in this group. So yeah, really frustrating. Look, I don't want to add too much on what Joe said on the night itself. I don't think it's a game that it needs overanalyzing, in my opinion. I'm going to pick out a couple of things just from the game. I thought it was really interesting that Cole Palmer started on the right. It's something that I've been calling for on the podcast. I've said that I'd like to see him play out there with obviously an overlapping fullback. In reality, we got 20 minutes before the whole game plan changed, so I don't think we can really analyse it. I think it's interesting, though. I think it is a sign. All of the talk was obviously Liam Rosenior wasn't picking the team tonight, and I'm sure he didn't, but I think it'd be naive to think he didn't have some sort of influence on it. So I think that's interesting to see a 3-man midfield, a 4-3-3 setup. Let's see what happens against Charlton and Arsenal in the next couple of games. But I do think, although Palmer wasn't great again tonight, I don't think it was his best game by a million miles. I do think it might be a way to unlock him still and to have a little bit more freedom to get him more on the ball. But we didn't see it enough tonight. But there was that little moment, wasn't it, when he did the dummy for Liam Delap, where I thought Delap really should have scored just before he did score. And it was a little bit of magic. And these little moments from Palmer, he's still got it. You just need to get him the ball more often. And I kind of think that playing him on that inside right, you might be able to do it a little bit more often. Talking of Delap, his goal is probably the one real positive of the night. He needed that. We needed him to get off the mark. Good to see him. I thought it was a decent finish actually on his left foot. You've got to hit the target from there, but on his left foot, I thought it was a good finish. We looked dangerous from corners. The big disappointment I had as soon as we scored, again, I said to Danny, who I was watching it with, we've got to keep going here, because up to the point that Fulham had scored, they'd been it was like the goal was coming, wasn't it? You're watching it thinking, we've come out second half, it's just a matter of time till they score. We then score, and our goal was coming. I was like, we've got to keep the foot down here, otherwise we'll lose the game. And actually, I messaged Joe saying, I think we could win this. But what was really frustrating, and he happens a lot in football, Chelsea we didn't dictate that this would happen, of course, but did feel like we retracted and were like, okay, we'll take the draw now. And the only way to get a result from that game was to carry on doing what we were doing. And it was really fun. We didn't really have an attack after that point of note. And 9 minutes later, Fulham score, and it just felt really frustrating because I felt that was the point to go and put the foot on the gas and go and try and like win the game, keep that momentum with us. But as soon as we scored, it went the other way, and really we never recovered. I thought the changes were a little bit strange. Maybe Palmer couldn't play, as you said, Joe. He didn't want to come off. I certainly, when he came off, was shocked, to be fair, and then doubly shocked that he didn't come off for Esteval or Garnacho, who would probably not be sad to see Callum McFarlane step away. I mean, Garnacho has not had a minute's play under Callum McFarlane, so Callum does not rate him. And Esteval, he got hooked at half-time at the weekend, and as I said on the pod, after the City game, basically blanked McFarlane after the game, so that maybe hasn't been forgiven. So that was interesting, but I thought it was a mistake. I just thought João Pedro on the right, it looked weird. It didn't make sense, and as it played out, it didn't work. At that point, you really wanted to have Esteval and or Garnacho to be running at the Fulham defence, and we really never had a meaningful attack, apart from chucking a few balls in the box from that point. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing, but it's a new era. We move forward. I'll talk about that more in the morning. I think the final note from me would just be that the one positive I would have if I'm Liam Rosania looking at where we're going is we have, as Joe said, picked up barely any points in the last 8 or 9 games. It's been just a horrendous run in the form. And we are 3 points off Liverpool in 5th place. Is it 4th place? I mean, it's the league table and the Premier League is just insane. And even the results tonight, Newcastle somehow winning in the 102nd minute, I think it was. But either way, most of the teams around us didn't win again. Everyone's nicking points of each other. It's the most ridiculous league table. I thought early November that it would eventually kind of look normal again over the next few weeks. It just isn't. And I think it's going to happen all season. I don't think it's going to change. What that means is despite this terrible run of form, we are not far off anywhere. Like this season is still very much alive. And all we need to do, easier said than done, is put a run of form together, put together 4 or 5 wins in the space of 6 or 7 games, and we will pull away and be in a really strong position, as we've seen Aston Villa do in recent weeks. That's the one positive that I can sort of pull out, is that despite this terrible run of form that Joe talks about, we've not been cut adrift. We're not in 17th, 16th place in the league. We're still around it. So I think Liam Rosini would have learned a lot watching that tonight. I think Joe's right. I think tonight is about the players. I think the players have let themselves down. There's a few players underperforming, and they're the ones who need to be sort of focused on. And yeah, there is so much potential in this squad. I really believe that. I really do, but they just need to stop making life so hard for us. And honestly, after 20 minutes today, I was enjoying the game. Cucurella does that, and I just looked at Danny and was like, we've done it again. We've done it again. We've made life so hard for ourselves. And as a fan, you just know the next hour or so of our life is just going to be painful watching it. So if we stop doing that, we might have half a chance. Back over to you in the morning, Joe. And yeah, I'll be back to talk about Liam Rosania, because I did really enjoy his press conference in his first interview. So I'll talk about that.
I'm done with subscriptions. Streaming, fitness, razors, vitamins. I've got subscriptions for everything in my life. They lock you in, and half the time, I can't figure out how to unsubscribe. That's why I'm so excited about the new Blue Apron. Now you can get delicious meals delivered with no subscription needed, including new pre-made options. Keep the flavor, ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
So it's the morning after the night before, and much like the weather, Chelsea's form is bleak and disappointing. I've slept on the result, but I've got to say it's still, for me, fresh in the memory, and I can't quite get past that yet. And I just got too many negative things to say, and I don't want to come on here and be a negative Nelly. But this season has just gone from bad to worse, and we find ourselves with a new manager. And I know Chris wants to speak about him after this voice note and give his kind of review on the interview that he gave and how sort of proactive he sounds and a refreshing voice. You know, I'm quite looking forward to hearing Liam Rosenior speak after matches and before matches. I think that will be very entertaining. I think it'll give us lots of good, positive information, clear information. But you just can't help looking at where we are. Now we're 8th in the table, and we said this the other day. If you drop too many points in this Christmas period, you're going to find yourself slipping down. And Newcastle, who were 13th maybe a couple of weeks ago, are now 5th. And they've not done anything good to get there. They've not won like loads of games in a row. They've dropped points themselves. Lots of teams around us have dropped points. We know that. But we have to call it out for what it is. It's not good. A change of manager mid-season yet again. The squad looks in disarray. Palmer looks annoyed every time he comes off the field. Esteval's getting no minutes. Garnacho's played no minutes in the last 2 matches. We bring in again Tosin, who's not good enough to play for the football club. He comes in for another game. And players like Wesley Fofana again miss out. Lavia's nowhere to be seen. And what looks a reasonably good squad on paper never really plays. And obviously Reece James is load managed last night. He comes on for the last 15 or so minutes and looks the best player on the pitch by a fucking country mile. But we were just reduced to watching for a very short period. And yeah, if only we had 11 Reece Jameses, we'd be completely fine. We'd be probably winning the league by about 10 points if we did. He's that good. And it seriously begs the question, if you've got Enzo Fernandez or Reece James fully fit and they both have, and Reece James doesn't have an injury checkered past, who plays every single week? It has to be Reece James, right? It has to be. Enzo Fernandez doesn't get anywhere near this team if you've got Caicedo, Reece James in that middle of the park alongside Andre Santos, who, by the way, I felt sorry for. Again, another red card. We had this at Man United when Rob Sanchez got sent off. Esteval came straight off the field. Last night, Santos gets a start. He's been begging for a start for a while. He gets it. And after 25 minutes or so, he's hooked off because there's another red card with Cucurella. I'm not going to go on about the Cucurella red card anymore or whatever. It's pointless. It's done. We've said our piece on that. But it just begs the question, the discipline, the ill discipline within Chelsea Football Club has been there for such a long time. And Chris makes a great point. It was under Pochettino as well. But when are they going to learn? Who is it? I'm sorry, they're grown men. You could argue they're young and all the rest of it. They still play sport at a really, really high level, elite level football players, right? So who's going in the dressing room after that game and not getting Cucurella by the neck? Because I would. I would literally have him by the neck and say, what are you doing? You've cost us that game. You have cost us that game. Simples. Him sitting in there, hoping that Chelsea somehow turn it around with a miracle, and we wouldn't have deserved it, by the way. Who is in that dressing room? No one. I've said it before. Everyone's too scared to call each other out. The only way it changes is if the players themselves are willing to go in there and change this. And I don't think there's enough leaders and enough mental fortitude within this team to change it. Liam Rosenior, it's been touted. Everyone said the same thing, so I don't want to repeat what other people are saying, but basically about his eyes are wide open. He's going to this job. He can see what the challenges are and all the rest of it. Yeah, that's true. But it has to start immediately, because if he starts with let's just say he gets a poor defeat, goes out of the FA Cup against Charlton, then he plays against Arsenal in the League Cup and they go to the bridge and they beat us. if you start that way, I'm telling you now, the crowd are restless. I mean, that Fulham away in last night was getting hot. I mean, very hot. Barley was getting absolute pelters. Clear Lake were getting pelters. It's clear to see, the fans are starting to demonstrate with their voice that they are unhappy, and there will be a protest. Chris mentioned that in his voice note earlier on. There will be a protest against Burnley coming up. I think it's Burnley or Brentford, maybe. Sorry, in the upcoming games, that's planned, and I'm sort of aligned with Chris with that. There's ways of going about a protest, and I don't think this is possibly the way to do it. But you can see the fans are getting restless. And all the while, you keep picking the same players that keep producing the same performances every single week. And by this stage, everybody knows who they are. Then you're going to keep getting the same results. And if you keep tinkering every single game with the defence, you are going to get no consistency. It's not rocket science. It just isn't. And just before I forget, actually, there was a player last night in Pedro Neto that stank the place out. I mean, he was woeful. I mean, when he got put through by Liam Delap, actually, it was a good bit of play by him. He holds it up well and puts it around the corner. When he got put through in that second half and he shot from about 40 yards and it went 40 yards over the bar, I would have had him off at that point. I have seen enough of you in the last 2 games to realise that you either don't give a shit or you're just really bang out of form. And I don't quite know which one it is, because he's been out of form now for a little while and he does not deserve to start. We like Neto. I don't think he's a bad player by any means. We rate him fairly highly. But when he's off, he stinks the place out. Like, stinks it out badly. His off days are bad. You want players, when they have an off day, you still go, oh, they did all right today. Neto is not that. I mean, he's so far away from his Club World Cup form, and maybe the start of this season, there was a period where you're like, oh, Neto's doing really, really well. I think we even called it out on the podcast and said he's actually having one of his better seasons. He's really looking good. And all of a sudden, there's just nothing between the ears. He's just doing things that are maddening, absolutely maddening to any football fan. And if I was a player, what annoys me, right, when Liam Delap held that ball up and he put him behind and put him in, he wasn't in to score. It wasn't like, this wasn't a chance. This was either drive at the last defender and have a go at the goal, or hold it up slightly and let Delap come into play. And he did neither. He just shot from 40 yards, and as I said, it cleared the crossbar by about, I don't think it even cleared the crossbar. It went wide and high. And Liam Delap walked up to him and patted him on the back and went, well done, mate. This is my point. Until that changes, until Delap walks over to him and body slams him to the floor and says, mate, are you taking the piss? Because I tell you now, any striker worth their salt, forget Chelsea strikers, any good striker going back in the last 25, 30 years and beyond, you would not have got away with that. Can you imagine Drogba, Joe Cole doing that to Drogba, or Duff doing that to Drogba? There was a famous game where Cristiano Ronaldo was playing at Man United and he was quite young, and Van Nistelrooy was in the team, and Ruud was obviously their main man, and he would score 35 goals a season. And they actually played at Cottage, and I remember this game vividly, and Ronaldo kept doing stepovers. So Van Nistelrooy would hold the ball up, he'd lay it off, he'd get himself into the box, and Ronaldo would go step over, step over, step over, and the chance would go. And Van Nistelrooy famously went in the change room and basically, barring beating him up, it wasn't far off of that. And basically said, just get me the ball in the box. I thrive from 10 yards, that 10-yard ball inside the box, I will score every single time. But Ronaldo refused to do it. And obviously, Ronaldo's gone on to do fantastic things, so don't take it the wrong way. But my point remains the same. You have to put other players in. You cannot be selfish all the time. And at the moment, Neto's been far too selfish for me. This Chelsea team, I would say, they just look bereft of ideas. Obviously, Liam Rosenior came in yesterday and said he's watched a training session before the Fulham game, what good players he has, they're wonderful characters, they're fantastic people, the quality's all there. But it's no good on the training ground. Chelsea did this thing for years where they would post, there's a Graham Potter era, right? They would post goals on Instagram. Chelsea never scored goals under Graham Potter. That it was such a limited amount of goals we scored under him. And every single week on Instagram, they would put up the goals they scored in training. Whipping balls in from the top corner, low shots, drills. They would go around the goalkeeper, chipping the goalkeeper. And then it comes to the weekend and nobody could hit a barn door of the banjo. And you go, well, where's all that gone? It's like a false thing. I don't want to hear about this stuff. I want to see it on the pitch. You're being paid exuberant amounts of money to play football for this football club. And at the moment,
there's too many people that are way off it and they're stinking the place out. And until they leave, nothing's going to change. And I don't really want, obviously I want Chelsea to get better. Of course I do. But I don't really want to see another £150 million spent in January on players that don't improve us. It's been too long now where we know we need a centre-back. We know we need a goalkeeper. We know we need a centre-forward. In an ideal world, but yet we go and buy another winger. And we were linked to Semenyo a few weeks ago. And you go, yeah, he's a good player. And he go to Man City, fine, whatever. We don't need another winger. We've got wingers that aren't being played. We've got Esteval Willian, who is an unbelievable player who's not being used. So why are we going to go buy another winger to piss him off? It just makes no sense. And this is where the transfer strategy has got to change. If they want to bring us on board, and I know there's this kind of moneyball approach for the sports directors, and also they don't want to overpay for somebody they're not going to maybe get a resale value on or whatever. I kind of understand. But there are times in a season where you just have to bite the bullet and say, we do need that type of player. And if they're not out there, that's okay. That's kind of fair enough. You can go, well, we've looked at him. They wanted too much money, or, his wages were too much. And I get what they're trying to say. The sporting directors are basically going, if we go and buy, let's just say, Nathan Ake, right? I don't think Nathan Ake is an unbelievable player. He's a good squad player, right? But he's earning over £200,000 a week at Man City. So he wants that money when he comes to Chelsea. Chelsea don't pay that sort of money anymore, not over a short period. These players are getting a lot of money, but they're getting it over 6 and 7 and 8 years, right? So they don't want to go and pay Nathan Ake 200 grand a week for a player that might not necessarily improve us very much. So I can understand when you're getting quoted prices like that, why you don't do that deal. But this is what you are paid for. This is why you've got scouts all around the world watching every single league and every single game of football you can possibly imagine. And they have got scouts everywhere. Trust me, I know. And we can't seem to find anybody in that 24, 26 age range, where we can bring in on wages that are relatively modest to what Ake's earning. Somewhere between that 80 and £120,000 a week mark. We can't seem to find someone to fit that mould. But they've got to do it. This is their job. This is what they're paid to do. You can't just go, we couldn't find a centre-half, so we went and bought another winger. It doesn't make any sense. That can't continue. I'm getting sick and tired of Chelsea being linked to wingers. I've got to be honest with you, really sick and tired of it. I think the wingers we've got are pretty good players. They're just not being utilised in the right way. I really hope Liam Rosenior can get more out of them. I really hope he can get more out of the lap. Obviously, Cole Palmer was looking a shadow of the player that he was. And even though he played well last night in patches, he didn't play great all night because we went down to 10 men, of course, and he didn't really get into the game. And he was getting so frustrated, and I could see it in him. But all his best work is being done 30 yards too far back. He's not high enough where he's getting shots on the edge of the box or just inside. He's getting shots, and his passes are sort of just beyond the halfway line. So there was that thing I said last night where he cuts inside on the right hand, on the right wing, and he drifts into the middle, and he passed it to, I think it was Liam Delap, in the middle of the park. But we were sort of on the semicircle of the halfway line in our attacking third. And that needs to be 30 yards further up. We get in the ball. He's getting it far too deep. He doesn't want it on the halfway line. He doesn't want it 20 yards inside his own half. That's not what we got our goals against PSG in the Club World Cup. We had Gusto 50 yards further on, winning the ball, and Cole Palmer was on the edge of the box, and João Pedro was then in the box till we slipped in, and that's when we scored that fantastic chip goal. That's where we need Cole Palmer. At the moment, it's all too deep, it's all too negative, and he's been asked to do something that he doesn't want to do. And I can tell you now, he will not do this job for much longer. If Chelsea finish, which I think they're going to, by the way, I cannot see at the moment them leapfrogging the teams that are around us. We might stay there and be around it. I hope we do, but I just can't see it. If Chelsea finish in the Europa League, or God forbid, the Europa Conference League, I could see him putting in a transfer request. Because why would you? Why would you want to go and play that crap again? No one wants to do the Conference League. Nobody. And Chelsea, that's not me being ungrateful. This is a club that have spent £1.5 billion. So show me where it is. Show me, or if you're with Stanley and Stuart, hand in your resignation because you're not doing your job properly. If you're telling us that, for example, Badia Shil and Disasi are the future of that football club, of our football club, and Disasi is getting rings run around him in the under-21s, and Badia Shield has a half-decent game every 20, that's not developing, and you've chosen poorly. And so you should be held accountable for that. Now, you're not going to get every signing correct. That's a fact. You're not going to get every signing correct. But at the moment, I would say there are a lot of players that they've picked in key areas of the field which are miles off it. And even though Rob Sanchez has turned out to be an okay goalkeeper, he's an okay goalkeeper. Let's not get carried away. He's had quite a good season for Chelsea this year, but he's okay. He's not anybody's first pick. If Rob Sanchez gets dethroned next season for Penders or somebody else, nobody's going to cry over it. That was their decision. They decided to spend £25 million to Brighton to get him out of there, and he wasn't even Brighton's first choice. And then you add Tosin into the mix. You've got Disasi, Tosin, Badia Shield, and Rob Sanchez, that little four quartet, okay, and they have been an utter disaster. And Sanchez, like I say, to give him some credit, and this isn't a rant on him by any means, he's done okay for Chelsea this season, okay? But he was terrible last year, and he's been, I'd say, above average this season. That's not an elite football club. We're getting dragged into thinking that being quite good is great, and it's not. Chelsea are paying under market value on wages because we can get them over a longer period of time. And that is enticing to some people because they go, I can get a 7-year contract and I'm getting 130 grand a week opposed to getting a 3-year contract that's paying me 200 grand a week. They've got a living for a long, long time. And I can understand, I signed that contract in a heartbeat. But it means that Chelsea can move money around and they can keep within the financial fair play rules. That's the only reason they're doing it. But we're being duped into thinking that some of these players that are coming in are elite level football players, and they are simply not. And we've got Fofana in the centre of the park, who we paid £70 million for, who has been nothing but a disaster because he can't stay fit. Then you've got Levi Colwill, bless him, who's come through the academy, who got a massive injury this season, our best defender. Of all the defenders in the world you wanted to get injured, it wasn't him. And he got a massive injury, and that's cost us huge in that area of the field. Then you add on players like Lavia, who had a checkered career with injury after injury after injury. And we all knew it. Everybody knew it. He come in for £15 million, has not even played 90 minutes for this football club. There are too many areas, particularly in the centre of the park and the centre of the pitch, where Chelsea are not good enough. It's facts. It's getting boring. I'm sick and tired of talking about it. I'm pissed off royally at the moment with that area of the field. I'm sick and tired because anytime we get a team gets sent out there, those same names keep coming in, and I just want to see 2 people play 5 games in a row. Just give me 5 games in a row, but it won't happen. It just won't happen. Trev won't play against Charlton. It'll be Tosin and God knows who else. It'll be like Reece James playing centre-back probably, and he'll still be the best player on the pitch. But anyway, I'm sorry. The centre of the park, the centre of the pitch for Chelsea is a disgrace at the moment. It's an utter disgrace. And I'm just getting to the point where I don't know if we're ever going to get back to those high standards that we set all those years ago. Where's the pride in that shirt? Where's the pride in turning up for Chelsea and going, I'm wearing the blue shirt, we're playing against Fulham today, we're playing against Leeds, whoever, and puffing your chest out and having that sort of little bit of an arrogance. There's no arrogance to this team. They're meek football players. They can see the goal and they go under. There's no fight in, I'd say, half the team. They go under at the first sign of crumbling. And when we went a goal behind last night, I was thinking, there's no way we're getting back into this. And we did. But, like Chris said, we retreated and we accepted a point when Fulham were there for the taking. Fulham were nervous, and that was the point you had to smack them in the mouth, not retreat back to your own penalty box. Because we're not good at defending. So why on earth we thought we would go in there and get a point? Disappointing. Really annoyed today, and obviously we've got the Charlton game coming up at the weekend. I will, like I said to my friend Di last night, by Saturday, Chelsea play again, and all of what's happened this week you forget about because Chelsea are playing again. We can't help it as football fans. You get suckered into, that's my team, and we support them through thick and thin. But my God, they are testing my patience at the moment. The way we're playing is really, really mind-numbingly bad. And yeah, I will be annoyed. I will be frustrated. I don't really care what anyone thinks. It's a feeling that if you're not annoyed by Chelsea losing games of football, I'm sorry, you're not for me. Okay, losing isn't part of our DNA. We don't do this. This is not what we're about. We don't go to Fulham and be happy with a point. I'm just not having it. Okay, it's just not Chelsea. And whatever happens, never be grateful for a point away at Fulham. Okay, it's just not. It's not acceptable in my eyes. And I think some of these players need to grow the fuck up.
Oh, good morning. Okay, yeah, I'm not feeling quite as negative as Joe this morning. I think it's fair to say, but yeah, very honest assessment from Joe there on the state. I think there's a lot of people feeling similar to Joe about things at the moment. And yeah, you certainly heard it with those away fans, didn't you? Egg Barley was not getting a nice reception, and yeah, that must have been a little bit cringy for Rosenia sat next to him. I'm gonna move on from the game. Personally, I thought I think one of the reasons that I'm probably not as down on it is I sort of probably half expected it. I was looking forward to the game, but knew that Fulham are playing quite well. It's always a tough place to go, and we've got an interim manager. And although McFarlane did a brilliant job, obviously at that Man City game, you just always thought it was a dangerous game. And as I said last night, I don't think it's worth overanalyzing. I think it was a massive, massive fuck up from Cucurella. I watched it again this morning. It's just stupid. It's just so silly. Just as I said last night, let him get his shot away and play from there. But completely turned the game, and Chelsea have just got to sort it out. And if we are going to win the Champions League this year, which, let's face it, that's the remit now, because that's what we do when we change manager mid-season, then we just need to keep 11 players on the pitch, because they'll give us a much better chance. Oh dear, but yes, let's talk about Rosenia, because I absolutely loved his interview, his first words as Chelsea manager. I thought it was genuinely excellent. One of the best, I'll call it, kind of manager introduction interviews that I've seen from a Chelsea boss. What was very, very clear is that he came in and he knows the remit of this job. I think he must have said the word win or winning at least 20 times in what was about a 7-minute interview. It came across so many times. He was also interviewed by Sky Sports last night before the Fulham game, and again he talked about winning so many times. He said that's what this club's about. This is what the DNA of the club is. And he referred back to being an opposition player, coming to Stamford Bridge. Back in the day, we'd have been a Fulham player then, and coming up against the likes of Essien, Lampard, Drogba, Robin, etc. He name dropped all those guys and Joe Cole, and said it was like the Alamo. That first 15 minutes at Stamford Bridge, you just felt like you'd entered like a war zone. And I want to bring that back to Chelsea. I want to have that feel. And I love hearing stuff like that. Obviously, it's words. They're all just words at the moment. The proof will absolutely be what he does with those players on the pitch and getting them to make Chelsea a horrible team to play against again. But it's kind of the opposite of how it's felt in so many games this season. Actually, almost particularly at Stamford Bridge, where it's almost like we let the first half an hour of the game sort of play out and then start to kind of get at the opposition and try and get the first goal. Very passive at times. And I really hope that he can deliver on that promise and make Chelsea, a really difficult team to play against and a much more physical team. And I think what's exciting as a Chelsea fans, I feel like he is a manager that we're gonna be able to relate to pretty quickly. I think we're gonna get hopefully a little bit more context on how he feels about the club. I think we've had a couple of managers in Maresca and Pochettino. He kept their cards pretty close to their chest, and I mean I'm a bit of a sado who watches basically every pre-match press conference of the manager and most of the post-match ones as well, and kind of like to see what the manager says. And in many times with both those guys, it was almost a bit of a waste of time, really. You never got a huge amount of insight on what they were thinking. I think that'll be different. I think with Leo Rosenia, I think we will get a bit of a feel for what's going on, and I think hopefully he can build a bit more of a connection with the fan base, which I know I talk about a lot, but I really do think is important. I think ultimately it's what you want as a fan, is to feel that you have a manager and ultimately a team that you can believe in. He's got a lot of work to do, hasn't he? That's what really I think last night, more than anything, has shown it was almost the perfect game, really, to show the problems he has in front of him with this Chelsea squad. All the stuff that Joe just talked about, ill discipline, a lack of leadership, lack of character, a lack of finesse, actually, I think, is one of the things going forward that you've seen in the last couple of games. Neto, I'll go a bit lighter on him. I think he's knackered. Like, he's played so much football this season, so many minutes he's played as well, that I think he just looks a bit knackered. And the use of the use of the squad's mass is really important, isn't it? Because I agree with Joe. Having a more fixed spine is the thing that I think Chelsea's crying out for. That you kind of know who those centre backs, goalkeeper, centre midfield, and probably striker is going to be most games. And then it's more the wide areas that you can be a bit more flexible and make sure that people aren't guessing. I mean, I thought in both the City game and the Fulham game, Neto just looked knackered. And that's where I think you make stupid decisions like the one that Joe talked about, where you just smash the ball out over the bar. It's just poor decision making when you're tired. But I am positive about Rosinia. I'm going to get behind him, as we all have to, really. And obviously he starts with that big game at Charlton in the FA Cup, which I'll talk about in a second. The other thing I wanted to mention was a very interesting article from Simon Phillips and Denny Windsor, who are journalists that have a Substack, and they got a chance to have a sit down with the sporting directors after the Man City game and to talk about effectively the project, to use that word, and question them on a lot of the stuff that the fans are protesting against, effectively, like the youth-led model, the lack of experience in the squad. And it was a really, really interesting read. And we've reposted it on our Instagram. So if you go to our Instagram, which is 1905 Podcast, you can have a look at it. But some really interesting samples. I'll pick out a couple that kind of came up to me. Simon Phillips, actually, he's a big Chelsea fan as well, has been pretty critical of a few areas of the club. The stuff that we talk about, to be fair, of like I've just said. And he said he came away from it a little reassured that these guys are passionate, they know what they're doing, there is accountability. And the things that kind of jumped out to me that I think are worth repeating on the pod, where there isn't a rule about not buying experienced players. It is something they are looking to do and are willing to do. They're just looking for the right opportunity in the market. There is an acknowledgement that we need a bit more physicality in the squad to compete with the likes of Arsenal and Man City and some of these guys who are just more physical, and they're going to make moves for that in the squad. And just generally an interesting, what I found really interesting was why they've decided to take the strategy, because I think from the outside in, we're just like, why have you done it? And the rationale given was there are effectively 5 or 6 clubs in the world that Chelsea feel like they just can't compete with because of sovereign wealth and size of stadium. So Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, PSG, Bayern Munich, I think being the primary teams mentioned. So the club felt they had to go in a different direction, had to do something innovative, for want of a better phrase. And that's why they felt that this was the right strategy. And yeah, again, it's words, right? So actions speak louder than words. But I think whether you buy into it or not, I think understanding where someone's coming from, this is often the cure of a lot of anger, because it's like, okay, I understand now the reasoning. And it just makes me think. It was a very good interview, or a very good article. It's not even direct quotes. It's obviously very closely guarded, the way that it was put out there. It just made me think, why don't they come out and do a proper interview through the club to talk about it? I think so much of this pain that we're seeing and the criticism of Clearlake and Igbali last night and the sporting directors, so much of it would be helped by them coming out and doing an interview, a video interview, like the one we saw with Rosinia, where it's clearly been highly edited. He knew exactly what he wanted to get across. It's very polished. I just think it makes a difference to hear from those guys, because unfortunately, when things are bad, the silence just makes things worse. I think it would be fixed with that. But yeah, well worth a look. As I said, there is some reassuring parts to it. What will be interesting will be to see what Chelsea do in January, because Rosinia obviously comes in will look at that squad and I just wonder if they will try and do something for him. And if so, what would you want? Let us know. Email us in at hello@1905podcast. What would you want to bring in to that squad? It's a tough one. It's a tough one, isn't it? Experience. The man, I'll tell you who I'd go for. I think Mark Gay was my Christmas wish, but it looks like we're not getting him. He's getting to Man City, isn't he, or Liverpool, which is fairly frustrating. What about Tony Rudiger? Ex-Chelsea player, a bit of a legend, proper experience. If he did go to a back three, he's made for that left side of a back three role. Would come and give us, he'd give you everything that Joe's crying out for there, wouldn't he? In one guy, he gives you leadership. He is the guy who's going to shout at people, get the crowd going. I think it would be a really smart move. And by all accounts, he would be available from Real Madrid. Might break the wage budget a little bit, but again, that was one of the things that was said in the article, that Chelsea will absolutely break that wage budget, wage barrier, if you like, for the right player. Would Rudiger be the right man? I quite like it. On to Charlton then. We haven't played at Charlton since 2007. It is, I think Frank Lampard scored that day. I think it was a 1-0 win. It's about 10 minutes down the road from me and I couldn't get a ticket, which is very, very frustrating. But a good Saturday night game. A bit of a banana skin for Frazzini, because it's a no-win situation in some ways. He just has to win. Charlton not on a great run of form at all themselves in the Championship. Chelsea have to win it. How strong does he go? That's the interesting one. We've obviously got Arsenal then in the week on the Wednesday. My gut feeling is he goes pretty strong. If I'm him, I'm not mucking around too much with the team. For example, I'm probably wanting Reece James starting that game. I'm wanting him on the pitch. I think maybe in the forward areas you'd rotate a little bit. I'd like to see Esteval and Garnacho come in. I think, as I said last night, I think they were really unlucky not to get on the pitch at all. I think those two come in. I'd be tempted to keep Delap in there. Let's see if we can get him on a little run. I think he's probably done more in his last two Chelsea games than he has all season, really. So let's see if we can build some momentum for him and get him another goal. And yeah, probably the ones you're resting are the guys who are just playing a lot of football and looking tired. Enzo Fernandez, Pedro Neto, the two that jump out. But yeah, wouldn't muck around too much. I'd keep Sanchez in goal, for example, things like that. So it'll be interesting. Chelsea have to win it. We have to try to put some sort of run together. I don't know if it's the next two games, but it's a couple of games without Premier League action, so the league table's not changing. We just need to get a footing, and then when we get back to Stamford Bridge, which I think he's got 3 games in a week at Stamford Bridge following this one, and we need to start to put together a bit of consistency, because we're consistently poor at the moment, so we have that in our favour. But I don't think, I'll finish it on this, I don't think it should be that hard to fix some of these big Chelsea problems. I don't think it's that hard to sort out the discipline issues, to stop rotating in that key area of the spine, to get a little bit more of a tune out these players. I don't think it's going to be that hard, and I think if he can do it and do it quickly, then the league table could look very different. So I'm hopeful. It starts on Saturday night. We'll be back on Sunday to reflect on that game and the start of the new era for our man Rosinia. Every little thing's going to be all right. Joe, it really will, I promise. See you next time. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be all right.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.